Hey YouTube, welcome back to another episode. My name is Nick Lawrence and I am a two-time Ironman. Just finished up a quick workout on the trainer. Did about an hour at 140 beats per minute. So this whole week will be pretty much a semi-recovery week. I think I mentioned in a previous video that I learned the lesson the hard way to make sure that I build in lower volume weeks into my training so that I don't overdo it and allow myself to really soak up the benefits from the prior few weeks. So my split right now is 4 weeks fully dialed in, and then 1 week lower volume, and that cycle is going to repeat until my next Ironman. So that kind of covers it for the training. Make sure that if you're doing an easy day on the bike, that it's actually easy for you. I ran into this issue myself where I was kind of overdoing it for my own level at the beginning of my last training block on like a quote unquote easy day. Now, what that meant was it didn't necessarily mean that I was going super hard, but I was going harder than I should have been going in order to allow myself to recover for the next hard workout. So, at certain phases of your Ironman build, different types of workouts are going to become your priority. And the real goal is to make sure that you're ready for those workouts. So, like right now, my priorities are my speed days. So whatever level of effort I need to put in on my easier bike days to allow myself to feel my best on my speed days is the level that I should be working at. It requires a little bit of nuance and a little experience that you'll feel out for yourself during your training, but developing that taste, so to speak, will mean the world for your training. Like, it'll allow you to make much greater strides in your progress than if you were to just, approach every workout like it's meant to be, like hit hard or hit at 100%, whatever that means to you for that workout. Now, a lot of people tend to struggle most with the mindset when approaching an Ironman, so I think that this is a pretty important topic to talk about. Like, when you look at the key phrase behind Ironman, it's anything is possible, and it's literally printed on pretty much every piece of marketing that they have out there. And you really start to develop this feeling that anything is possible as you complete your first Ironman, or even after your first Ironman, or while you're training for it. Maybe less of while you're training for it the first time, but every time after that, you really develop this position that for you to accomplish any goal that you set your mind to, you just need to make a plan, follow the plan, and put in the work over a long period of time. And if it takes 1 year, it takes 1 year. If it takes 2 years, it takes 2 years. And if it takes 5 years, it takes 5 years. But the key to the anything is possible mindset is that as long as you don't stop and as long as you can endure through the process, you're going to improve over time until you actually achieve your goal. Now, this can be viewed from many different layers. Like, you have that surface layer of anything is possible, and if you just put your mind to it, then eventually that you'll get it done. But in reality, there's much deeper nuances to this philosophy, and then pretty much any other philosophy that'll allow you to grow into the type of person that you want to become. Now, I've been reading this book called Power versus Force that describes this like perfectly. If you haven't read that book, I highly suggest it. I'm nearly finished with it. I have it right here, actually. Yeah, right here. And, it talks about two key differences, and this is where I want to relate the Ironman mindset to this book. So there's a positioning of power that you can use to achieve your goals, and there's a positioning of force that you can achieve your goals. And the force positioning pretty much says, if I do this, then I do this, then I do this, then this thing will happen. It's very sequential, it's very operational, it's very logical, where you think that if I just train and I just keep working, then this outcome is guaranteed. But in actuality, that's not really how it works. And if you don't have the underlying power behind that, then you're never going to get where you expect to go, or you'll be limited by the power level that your mind is operating at. Now, when the book talks about power, it's talking about where you're operating in terms of, are you operating out of powerful values or more base values, where a base value might be the lust for money or shame or anger or any of those qualities, where say a powerful or a much more powerful value to operate out of would be a pursuit of excellence, or a pursuit of higher good, and like tying your vision to something much higher than yourself or outside of yourself, that is much less grounded in a more basic, benign, egotistical base. And hopefully, as I'm describing this, it can intuitively make sense that if you have person A and person B, one with motivation to just make as much money as possible, and person B with the motivation to help as many people as possible, then typically you'll see this person have a much more powerful presence about them and fulfilling life, where even if this person gets the money that they think that they want, they'll still be unhappy and unfulfilled, while this person will continue to operate in a level of fulfillment as they're going through the process, because of what they're measuring or using as their fuel to push themselves forward. Now, that was a long explanation, and how this relates to the Ironman training is something that I noticed with myself at lower periods of this last training prep, where if you allow yourself to sink into dwelling on the pain and the struggle of what you're doing, your performance is going to suffer, one. But two, you'll never grow to where you want to grow or where you think you should be performing for the effort that you're putting in. So essentially, you're spinning your wheels. And there's no more true manifestation of that principle as with your first Ironman, because you're operating from a place where you're completely unsure if you'll ever actually finish the race, one. And so that's, you're in a state of disbelief, and there's nothing that you can physically do to tell yourself that you can definitely finish the race and believe it. So you're in an interesting position where you have to develop a certain level of self-belief or acceptance within yourself to allow yourself to bridge that gap between what you know you're working towards and what you've done in the past to prove that you're able to accomplish this. So this is where positioning yourself in a state of power will make the most difference for you, and has made the most difference for me. And it's something that I'm actually glad that I can see hinting in my mindset once in a while, but it's something that once or after reading this book, I'm paying a little bit more attention to, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm a master of it in any way. But it's something that I'm going to be paying much more attention to in this next prep, where one of the highest alignments, and I think they call them attractor patterns, because one of the, a different concept within this book when talking about power is that it's an attractive force, or force isn't the right word here, but power attracts and a force pushes. So the effort required when you're operating out of a state of power is significantly less, because what you're doing is you're attracting what you're seeking towards you, rather than pushing forward or pushing against to get your goal. So the force required to get something done would be significantly more effort for you than the power that you would exhibit, or the effort required with the power that you're manifesting to bring what you're seeking to you if you're operating at a certain power level. Sounds complicated, and maybe I'm not describing it the clearest, but hopefully you get the gist, that aligning with a sense of or a pursuit of excellence in your craft will attract the results that you're looking for much faster than only pushing for the result that that you have in your goalposts. And that's what I'm taking away from this. So for me, what that means is, rather than, like, my sub 12 goal for this build is something that I would like to see myself accomplish. And I think it's something that's very reasonable for me to put on my horizon as something that I can accomplish. But the means by which I would be seeking to accomplish this from a mindset perspective is through the pursuit of excellence in my craft, rather than just making this the goalpost and trying to force it to happen by any means necessary. Thinking through this, and let's put like bookends on that note, because I think that's a good concept and a good takeaway to highlight from this video, that by pursuing the value of excellence in a craft, you'll essentially be seeking mastery of that craft. And by seeking mastery of that craft, the growth that you'll experience while pursuing excellence and mastery will far outweigh the growth that you would experience by trying to force a certain outcome. And that's it. We're good right there. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That's my goal, and it falls in line with what one of my coaches mentioned when I brought up to him my time goal for the next race that I'm going to be doing. And I told him that I'd like to hit the sub 12, and he said, sure. Like, he's not one to say whether or not this is in the realm of possibility for me, but for himself personally, he doesn't like to limit his potential going into a race, or going into a build. He doesn't want me to mentally limit myself to a 12-hour marathon or a 12-hour Ironman and then miss out on the opportunity to push much further, because you never know what kind of growth you can experience when you really put in the effort. and this also relates to yesterday. If you watched my video from yesterday, I had and I still have it, the cyst on my back that I don't remember if I mentioned that it like exploded yesterday while I was, doing a hot compress. So it wasn't like super extreme. It was used a hot compress to kind of loosen it up and break up whatever material might be building in there. That pressure exploded, and so I couldn't do my run yesterday because of this medical condition that I am going to a doctor for tomorrow. I was able to do the bike today because it's feeling a decent amount better today, and sitting on the trainer doesn't really agitate me. But pursuing excellence and pursuing excellence in the sport, or mastery in the sport, operating from that mentality requires your body to be ready for performance. And if I'm undergoing training in a state that is going to put me back overall, then I'm doing the opposite of pursuing excellence in my craft, and I'm actually forcing or trying to force an outcome that would be much better managed by taking care of my health concern first and then continuing to pursue my training. It's a deep topic, and hopefully I didn't lose all of you by now. I'm sure my watch rate is like 0 at this point, but for those of you who stuck around, I'd love to hear your input, and hopefully you were able to bear with me through my probably 5 or 6 minutes of circling around my brain until I can pull out a single linear thread to describe this concept of power and its application in training. So, on that note, I am going to now shower and eat, take care of my injury on my back, and try to read through a little bit more of this book, because I have about another 100 or so pages of actual content. And just a quick side note, when a book has like multiple pages of notes and references, I trust the author a little bit more. Like, the references are from page 333 through 347. So 33 to 47, 14 pages of just references alone. That's a well-researched book. So you can tell by the wording choices and the language used in the book, but that's for another day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it wasn't too crazy and like too much of a mental journey to try to follow along with me. Enjoy your night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.